Sometimes with your watercolors you want to do some simple faces. You're not trying to get a portrait done, but you just want to include some people in your watercolor. So a couple things to keep in mind when you're doing faces. If you have the entire head, we know that the eyes are in the center of that head, the entire thing, right? So the eyes are in the center. However, if you are not doing the hair, which is usually bigger than we think it is, and you're just doing that face, I mean, in your watercolor you will do the hair, hair and the face, but right now I'm going to concentrate on just the face and not the hair. Then if you divide that face into thirds, the eyebrows divide the top third, and the nose base divides the bottom. Then you'll have your eyes in here, and your mouth is close here. So that's basically the proportions that we're going to be using. So all we need to do to do this face, I know some of you painting faces may sound very, very complicated, but we're going to really simplify it. And all you really need to do is a face, and then it's divided into thirds. And you won't even need your pencil. You can just do it with your paintbrush. So as I paint, I am going to just mix, and I've moved my things around here, so I'm just going to mix just a single color. And I'm going to use that, looks like it went, there we go. With this color, I'm going to add a little bit of red, and I've just got something on my palette that's kind of a brown there, and I'm going to add some yellow. I'm just getting a neutral, and you could see that I could even use that. It would be pretty flat as a neutral, but I could use that. So I'm going to show you the difference here. This is just the sepia. And this is the one that I've added the azo yellow and the alizarin red to. So it's just a little bit more flesh tone. Now what I'm going to have you do to begin with is simply add quite a bit of water, or have wet on your brush and dip it in, and you are just going to create some ovals. And we're going to do 4 ovals, and these are lighter in value because we're going to do a face with just 2 values. Okay, now because that is so thin, it should dry fairly quickly. And you can see this one that had more water in it is just about dry already. That was pretty quick. So what we're going to do is, because we distinguish everything that we see because of the light and the shadows, I am going to add a little bit more of this brown. I don't want too much, but I want to make this a little bit darker, so that I have 2 tones here. Okay. Now on this first one, we are simply going to, now remember our eyebrows are about 1/3 of the way down, and so to me that almost feels like it might be a good place to start, as that's where my eyebrows are. So I'm going to make that little mark there, and I'm going to round up for the forehead. You notice I'm just doing a big general shape. I'm letting, even though a form shadow would be soft, I'm not worrying about that right now. I am just trying to get some shapes here. About another 1/3 of the way down is the base of the nose. And so I'm going to put that there. And then just below that is the mouth. So I can see some shadows there. And then below the lip, it kind of usually goes in. And then around for the chin. And then over here where we had that beneath the eyebrow, the other eye socket. So can you see this is a very, very basic shape? Let's try it again on this one. But this time we're going to give a little bit more definition. So that one, got that here. I lost a little bit of a corner there to get that really good. But that one, the light was to the side basically. And this one we're going to do to the side and a little bit closer to the front. So let's get below the eyebrows. This is kind of the eye socket, which happens, you know, when you have that bright shadow, this kind of all appears in the shade, right? So both eye sockets, we're going to round that part out towards the, on the forehead. And then because it's still to the side but a little bit to the front, we're going to see some of the shadow on the side of that nose. And that casts a shadow down. And then this cheek right here, you notice how I keep painting, pulling up that paint so that it's all in one shape. That cheek rounds out and comes down. And then, so we have the nose shadow there, and then it comes down to the lip. And the upper lip casts a shadow on the lower lip. And then the lower lip casts a shadow on the chin. And that chin comes around. So very, very simple, simple face, right? Now, if we have the light moving even more to the front, but still above, it will still cast the eye socket shadows. But it will not cast a shadow on the side of the nose. It will cast a shadow below the nose. And then the lips will still cast a shadow. And the lower lip will cast a shadow on the chin. And sometimes you'll even get a little bit of shadowing on both sides. Now, that light, we're going to have that light come on to the right side now, and sometimes we find it easier to do one side than the other, so we're going to practice both sides. So we're going to do just the reverse here. So we're going to do the light socket, or the eye socket, excuse me. And then we're going to follow that nose down because the nose is casting a slight shadow until it gets down below the nose, and then it casts a larger shadow. And the lip casts a shadow. And then a shadow below the lip. And the chin. We're going to get the cheek shadow in there. And the forehead shadow. So that is a very simple, simple face that you can paint. Now, when you're painting from a photograph, knowing what photographs will work well, sorry about that, is key. So not all photographs are going to make great paintings. So we're going to sort through these. And the criteria is, can I easily see the light and the shadow is making very defined shapes. We just painted very defined shapes. So let's see if we can find them in photographs. Can I see defined shapes here? Yes, I can definitely see where those shadow lines are, and so that is a keeper. Can I see defined shapes here? Yes, that's a softer edge than what we painted, but it's very similar to the one that we painted with the side view. That is a keeper. Can I see defined edges here? No, this one is not going to be easy, so don't worry about using that one. Defined edges? Yes, very much so. Defined shadows? Nope. Gonna get rid of that one. Oops, we got a figure in here instead of a face. Okay, let's look at this guy's face. Now, this one might be harder to do. I think we can kind of figure out the areas and define them. That would be a little bit more difficult. Possible, not as easy. Okay, what about this one? No, it's not well defined at all, although we see that cheek is lighter than this cheek. Because the light is diffused through her hat, it's not well defined. It would be very difficult to make a simple face with. Okay, let's see on this one. This one is not as defined either. This one could be done, but wouldn't be simple. What about this one? Aha! We see exactly where the shadow lands on the cheeks. And this is a really, really good example of hard and soft edges. Cast shadows make hard edges, but form shadows, where it goes over the nose, make soft edges. And you can see that. That is a cast shadow. That is a form shadow. So form shadow, cast shadow. And when you make those hard and soft edges, and then you let it dry and step away from it, you will be amazed of what you can see. Okay, defined edges. Yes, more defined. Not as clear-cut as this one, is it? And same with this one. This one is very defined and would be much easier to do. So, with some of these that are a little bit more defined, we are going to see what we can do on our paintings. So, let's grab this. And let's start with this one. So we can double check a few things because we have this photo. You're going to get distortion in some photos, but it's nice to kind of get a feel. That third of the way down, part of her forehead is covered up. So we're going to start here with eyebrow and base of nose. Base of nose to chin. It's got a little bit more there. And up here. So we're not dealing exactly, but we're close. So I'm going to get water and then grab my base. And I'm just doing my light color right now. I'm going to get her face in, and I'm even going to just get a little bit wider at the top. Your skull where your brain is wider than your jaw where your chin is, right? I think that tells us we should be thinking more than we're speaking. Okay, so I've got that one ready for here. Now, I'm going to, sorry that camera keeps going fuzzy. Hopefully it will focus. There we go. Now I'm going to get this part ready here. I'm going to get her face. I'm going to put that hat in. It doesn't matter if I'm perfect or if I'm exact. We're going to get the feel for it, and then you can always do this again later and make some changes. Okay, my second value on this one, when you have a brush that will come to a nice point, then that gives you a lot more leeway for what you can do. So I'm going to come down a third, and I'm going to get, oops, a little bit too much paint there. It's kind of bubbling up. There we go. I'm going to get the underneath the eyebrow, the eye, below the eye. That's as much detail as I'm going to put there. Looks like I need to get a little bit darker. Perhaps. Now I'm going to move on to this one, and I know that I see this shape here. Let me scoot that over a little bit. I know that I see that shape here, but I'm just going to begin by getting this part in. And I'm going to come down on that nose. Base is about right there. And I don't want to just do the nostrils, so I'm combining the shadow for the nostrils and the nose. It's all combined together. Even though I see a lighter area there, that's in the shadow. So when you simplify, you really simplify. You are getting just the simplest part here. Where her lips go back, you see that darker shadow there. Shadow on her lips, below her lip. And her chin. So that's the thing, you know, I could go back and put more detail, but when I'm keeping it simple, I am just keeping it simple. I see her ear, that's all in shadow. And this head dressing is all in shadow. I'm blotting a little bit so that I can make sure as I come to do this head dressing here, I want to bring it from the right spot around, and then here it's a little bit bigger, and there's the ear. Can you see how you're just pulling the shadows? You can do the neck here, and the clothing is even casting a shadow. You could do that in there too. But you're trying to get the actual shape that you see. Move your brush however you need to get the shape of the actual objects that you're painting. Let's look at this one. So when you open your mouth and you like this, it drops your jaw down a little bit and it changes those proportions slightly. Okay, we are going to just start here. I'm going to start with the base of the nose, and I can see that the base of the nose is kind of level with the middle part of that hat, and I've got a lot more up there. I'm just gonna start and see what happens. Now my shadow is not along the entire bottom of her nose, it's on one side. Cast the shadow there. It comes around the tip of her nose and up. If I can do a softer edge, I will there, but I think for now we're just going to keep it simple because it's small. If it was larger, I would do soft and hard. There's that cast shadow over here. Let's see, coming down here, and the lip. Teeth. Sometimes it gets a little bit confusing, so you can try to keep your finger on one and paint the other if you need to. Let's come over here.